Oh, hello, everyone. It has been a hot minute since I have actually recorded a podcast because I pre recorded a bunch before embarking on this journey that I'm on now in Maui and then soon to be in Peru. And I'm really excited to record this episode because we're going to get this one out sooner so that it can be a bit in real time so you guys can be here with me on this journey. And I've brought my dear soul sister and partner in consciousness, Valentina Sinisterra, to be on this with me to help pull out more information and gems. And plus, because she's just a brilliant, badass goddess, priestess of a woman. And so it's fun to have her here. Anyway, so here I am. Let me let you know about what conscious conversion is in case this is your first time listening. Conscious Conversion is a weekly podcast about how we bridge the gap between business and spirit, money and meaning, technology and regeneration in a wildly changing world. In a time of so much polarity and uncertainty, this podcast explores how together we are connecting across the planet, across our differences, and across dimensions as we build the new earth together. And I am your host, Sarah Yamtich. So effervescently excited to be here with y'all today and to have Valentina on the show with me. Mwah.
Yay. Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm so happy to be here. I was on the very first revamp of Conscious Conversion podcast because you've been doing this for a minute. But when we started back again, I was on the first one with you. And now we're back. And this is exciting because it's another beginning.
Mm-hmm. It
And
is. It's a beginning. It's a beginning of a lot of things. I mean, I feel like we are collectively in a beautiful death rebirth cycle, right? So there's lots of endings and beginnings happening. And specifically, I want to just tease something out that we'll talk about a bit more later. But I'm embarking on, or I have embarked on, a beautiful partnership with my dear friends, Amanda Johnson and Clinton Brown, on something called Awaken Village. And it's really all about building the new earth together, co-creating the new paradigm, and helping others to build their own creatorship and authority in bringing new paradigm voices to as much of the mainstream as possible.
and we'll dive into that a little bit later. I am part of the village as well, and it's an
Absolutely.
epic endeavor. So I'm excited to dive into it.
Yes. Okay, so today I wanted you here to help tease some things out of me because I have a tendency, if I'm doing solo talking to my microphone all by myself, um, even though I'm not all by myself because I got y'all listening, I still I find myself being more concise than I really want to be. And so if I have a dear friend here on the journey with me, on this conversation with me, like I feel like I'll blossom and open up more. And I feel like there's so much to talk about. I am in Maui right now visiting my teachers, my mentors, my dear friends, my family, Sean and Munai. They're a couple. I always say I have three teachers in one, Sean, Munai, and Sean and Munai. And they were living in Santa Fe for as long as I've known them. And they moved to Maui last year, and I hadn't seen them in a while because of, travel restrictions, COVID, all these things. And now I've come to Maui to see their new homeland and to dive in with them, particularly with Munai on Huachuma cactus plant medicine ceremony, which is a journey that started back in 2018. And I'll pause there.
So, medicine woman Sarah, you can add that now to your title, which it's always been there, but now you're really stepping into it.
Yeah. And I don't know what shape it's going to take. You know, people are asking, like, are you in a formal training? Are you with a shaman? What are you doing? And it's not a formal training. This is really stepping into the temple of my own soul, of my own body, and of my own heart with the mentorship and love of a dear, like, older sister priestess, who is helping to create sort of a container of love and support while I journey. And so it remains to be seen, am I going to feel empowered to hold ceremony, or was this going to be something that I just keep for myself? Is this something that I'm going to myself share with other people? Or it could be that I assist Munai in perpetuity with ceremony. I don't know where this is leading. I'm on the journey in an unfolding mystery. I'm calling it the Magical Mystery Tour.
So why are you doing it?
Mm. So that could be a really long, hour-long response that goes back when I was born in 1981 in Southwest Missouri. Or no, I wasn't born in Southwest Missouri. I was born in Texas. I grew up in Southwest Missouri. Anyway, I'm not going to go back that far. I will say that I was initiated into this particular vibration and medicine and technology in 2018. It was my first ceremony ever. Like, I had done psychedelics as an adolescent and as a young adult, but I had never participated in a real ceremony. And what's amazing is that my very first ceremony was a peak experience, was something that people would look to as the epitome, as almost like a mecca of a plant medicine journey. Huachuma is a cactus medicine, an ancient medicine that originated in the Andes Mountains, as far as we know. And the origin point of that medicine is at a place called Chavin de Huantar. It's an ancient temple, pre-Incan. The archaeologists tend to say it's 4,500 years old. They say similar things about the Great Pyramids. Radical cosmologists, the really deep historians and cosmologists who are truly looking at the stars and the alignment of the architecture, say that we're looking at more like 30 to 40,000 years old. So we're looking at really very, very ancient civilizations. And this temple was built for this medicine, arguably 30 to 40,000 years ago. And that is where I started my journey with this medicine, was in that temple with Munai. So it felt at the time like a strong initiation, and it made everything visceral for me. It all those platitudes of as above, so below, as within, so without, we are all one. All of those platitudes that are like, yeah, I know, I get it. I got it. Like, I felt it in my body. Every cell was cleansed in light, and I felt my I am presence. And over and over again, I was there for 2 weeks. And I have been walking with so much gratitude for that experience, and for that medicine, and for Munai, and for the medicine maker, Jack. So much gratitude for that place, for that ancient civilization that created that temple space and that technology. And to go back there is a real honor. And it's so interesting too. I'm sorry, I'm just going to talk forever. I told you, if I just have a person to talk to, I'll talk forever.
She really just wants someone to just stare at her, you guys. I'm just here to look at her.
It helps me not go into existential crisis. Anyway, after I got back from Chavin in 2018, I designed my logo for my agency, which at the time was called Resonate with Sarah. And it is very much inspired. I'm showing Valentina my water bottle. I'm showing y'all my water bottle if you're watching on YouTube. And it's a modified version of the chacana, the Peruvian chacana, with sort of an eye and a flower in it. That it was a logo that was very much inspired by that experience. And some of this is unconscious, right? But I was calling to that medicine, right? And calling to that technology, and calling to that ancient civilization. And I feel like I've been sort of just waiting for the call back. And that call, I feel, is happening now. And so here I am, embarking on this journey. I had my first solo journey last Saturday, and once the medicine, I also like to call it a technology, kicked in, I felt this deep welcome home. So I don't know if that answers part of the question that I could go on and on about, but it feels really, really, really resonant with my body, this particular medicine, and resonant with an awakening within me, and awakenings on the planet as well.
So you did your first solo journey this past weekend.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, and how it was to hold your own space instead of really allowing someone else to hold you through the journey?
There was a lot of dissolving. There was a lot of just lying on the floor with my eyes open or closed, just sort of dissolving into the space. Um, Punctuated with sitting up, inspired movement, voice, going on quests on this land that I'm on right now, walking around, playing with sound and vibration. Um, Really moments of like, what would I be doing if somebody else were here? And this beautiful freedom of doing whatever I want in the moment, and real true presence. I was nervous about having like a dark night of the soul, being all by myself, but I that didn't ever happen. That didn't ever come. It was pretty freaking blissful. And I also played with like, how would I hold this space for somebody else if somebody else were here and I was the one to hold the space for them? How would I just lay here and dissolve in their presence? Um, so all of that still sort of remains to be seen. This was the first of probably several solo journeys where I'll explore what it's like to be one-on-one with this medicine.
I can't help but be curious. I mean, I think this is one of the biggest faults of human is like we always need to know what the end goal is. Enjoy the journey always is what we try to keep remembering. And I'm here, I can't help but find myself wondering like, okay, so you're facilitating these sessions on your own, holding your own space. You're in Maui and then Peru for however many months doing this. Are you becoming a medicine woman? Like what does your gut feel with this medicine? What trajectory do you see this taking, if any?
I guess it depends on how we're defining what does it mean to be a medicine woman.
Mm.
Never will I claim to be a shaman, probably. I'll probably never use that word to describe myself. And I will always remain humble to the medicine and to the technology and to the land and to my mentors about sort of, and having sacred reverence for my role in this field. And it does feel like that. I mean, it definitely does feel like there is some sort of becoming. And I am allowing myself to luxuriate in the mystery of what I am becoming.
Mm.
And take that as a metaphor for this planet too, right? Like, we don't know. I mean, the old paradigm is dying. The new paradigm is birthing. We hope so. We have a sacred hope that the new paradigm is birthing. We don't know what it looks like, and we have to luxuriate in the mystery and in the not knowing as we feel into what does that new human feel like. What does the new me feel like on the other side of this? I think empowered, connected, sovereign, in love with life, in harmony with my brothers and sisters, my family, my environment. That's what I want to feel like in my body, and that's what I want to feel like on this planet. And if this medicine is a vehicle for moving towards that more consciously and efficiently, then I'm available to help that happen.
I think something that is happening right now with our world, with these massive transitions that are happening, is anxiety and stress and fear and all of these mental disorders, dis-ease, they're coming up to the surface at a really high amount. And it's because when we have this need as humans to want certainty, we crave knowing what the next thing is. Kind of like how I just asked you, like, what's happening next, And when we're going through these transitions, the way that we allow ourselves to really make it to the other side in one piece with a calm nervous system is by being flexible and by not remaining rigid as this happens, and not, because when we remain rigid, anything that comes towards us is going to feel like a threat. But when we are flexible and flowy, we begin to, as you say, we begin to weave with whatever's happening. And if we're asked to bend in this way, then we bend knowing that we're going to be okay and that we can bounce back in this way and start weaving with everything that's coming. And I remember when, that very much parallels to what's happening, to what happens within a journey with, I don't think we've ever talked about it on this, but you and I did Huachuma together back actually almost a year ago.
Exactly 1 year ago, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. And
With Munai.
with Munai. And there were moments of that journey where I felt myself like bracing towards life. There were some really unexpected moments where, also when you're in a plant medicine journey, the main thing that comes up is your ego trying to hold on for dear life and not wanting to die, metaphorically. And it can feel like a threat. All these things that are coming for us to hold and to see, it can feel like a threat. And we had some moments, physical moments in the real world happening on that journey where I remember I was bracing through life. And you were a pivotal in this, because I remember looking at you because you had done this medicine before, and you are just such a force. So, I mean, we have so many titles within this relationship of like friends, coworkers, soul sisters. And in that moment, you were like Mama Bear.
Oh.
And I remember because I was like stripped naked and I was like, oh my God, what's happening? This is a lot. This is a lot. And then I looked over at you and you were just flowing with everything. And I'm like, well, Sarah seems completely fine, given this like a little bit of tornadoes that were happening around us. And you were just flowy, fully flowing and weaving with everything that was happening. And I feel like that is such a superpower for you, and something that we really would benefit all of us in all cases and stages of life, but especially right now. And that's also something that I'm sure you're having to experience during these Huachuma ceremonies that you're doing.
Valentina, I love you so much. I just want to say that. Like, I had goosebumps while you were talking. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like that is in a really, really, really critical skill that we all need to embrace right now. Is the is that comfort as much as possible with not knowing what's happening, and instead of bracing ourselves against the unknown, realizing in every single present moment that we are okay and that there's a path forward. And when I was on my solo journey, I did bring my journal up. I was going to say I might pull out my journal because I did journal a bit while I was there, but there are these, again, like this medicine, this technology helps you understand things that maybe you understand intellectually, or maybe you even feel it, but there's something that like gets into every cell. There's something that integrates into the body on this medicine. And one thing that came through for me was like, wow, if you're really truly present, you will find so many presents. There's so many gifts around. Like you just like find like little, I've been searching, I'm been lately like obsessed with the number 33, and I know you've got some of that too. It's the Christ consciousness number. And so I just like 4 or 5 times a day, I'll look up and see 33 and I'm like, and I blow it a little kiss. And it's this little Greek gift, this little present. Or I'll look up and somebody's bringing me cacao, or I'll have an ocean view, or, there's beautiful music playing in the background or something. There's always beautiful presence in the present moment. And if we focus on that, every single time we start to spin out, it really can bring you back. Like, what's the gift? What's the present in this present moment? So that's one tool. I mean, because right now, honestly, just coming back a little bit, we are in a pivotal moment with the agency, with conscious conversion, the agency, and a partnership with Awakened Village. And there's been a lot of like, what's happening? Oh my God, I don't know what to do. what's going to happen? What are the clients going to think? What's happening with the team? And all this stuff that I could start to spiral out. And oh my gosh, I'm leaving Costa Rica and I'm going to Maui. And am I going to be able to afford this? And what's going to happen next? Where am I going to root? Where am I going to ground next? And every time I start to spin out like that, I come back and I'm like, what's the gift right now? Oh my God, I don't actually need to know anything about any of that right now, because what I'm finding is that when you look for the presence in the present, and you look for those gifts, they keep coming. And then amazingly, tomorrow I'll be like, oh my God, somebody, a beautiful friend just came and offered to help out with this thing, or money just fell into my bank account for this thing that I was going to sell that I forgot about. Or things happen when you stay really present to the gifts. And again, I know it's like this empty platitude that everybody says, but if you really can feel it in your cells and do it and practice it as much as possible, like the gifts just start to like flow in.
How do we do that? How do we start doing that when we're not, when we're in the middle of a space that is a little bit nerve wracking, when we're not, not, I think it's easier when we're on a medicine journey or when we're in a beautiful new place. But what happens when we're at home in the same space, seeing the same surroundings and having to go through the motions?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I certainly don't claim to have all the answers. I was in that space several times in the last year, many times where I'm just like, this is insurmountable. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Even to the point of like, I kind of want it just to end. Just, I'm done. I want off the ride. And for me, a lot of prayer, a lot of asking for, and who were you asking? I'm asking my higher self. I'm asking my guides. I'm asking the archangels. I'm asking God. I'm asking Mary Magdalene. Who am I asking? I don't know. All of it is me. All of it is us. But there's a lot of that prayer. I feel like prayer for the presence and for the gifts to come in and for them to make themselves known. That helps me a lot. And I can't help myself. I am kind of a planner. And if I can somehow change my context a little bit and do something a little bit different, go to a new place, find a friend who I really, really feel raises my vibration and be in their presence, make some music with somebody, get into a creative space, into a creative mode, find a way to get into flow. And sometimes being in your house, in the same house every single day, which a lot of us have had to do, a lot of people have had to do in the last couple of years, but being in the same place, looking at the same thing, it can be really hard to find your flow. But if you can, for me, it helps to change my context ever so slightly, and sometimes really big, to re-find my flow.
Mm. That is so important, right? That right there of moving into new spaces, because I remember my mom always used to tell me this when I was little. She would always say, whenever we would take you to new locations and new experiences, you would always come back noticeably different. Like you would come back smarter. You would latch onto things easier. Your memory would be better. You would just, it would accelerate your neurons working in your brain. And I don't know what the science is behind all of that, but I have heard of that before, how when we expose ourselves to new experiences, then we allow different synapses to fire off in our brain, and that's going to affect our nervous system and our internal states. And I think that's especially important right now, coming out of, we're still in the pandemic, but so many people have been confined to the same spaces. So we're really having to get curious about being forced to move. One of the amazing things is a lot of us can work from home now and do a lot from home, but the shadow side of that is we're literally seeing the same exact thing every single day. And that's not the best thing for our mental health over and over and over again. So even if we can just see a different friend, go to a different place, just start implementing that in our weeks, I feel like that would help so much. That would open up space inside of ourselves to start seeing new things, becoming conscious of new things, and seeing the different gifts in each present moment.
Absolutely. And for me, going on back in the day, I used to go on retreats at least once a year. I would go on a retreat, and every single time I would come back shifted.
Mm,
So I'm a huge advocate for retreats. And I be careful about harping on them too much or about travel, because I know some people don't feel like they're in a position to be able to do that. They're a single parent or financially or whatever. And even still, can you get away for a weekend? Can you go to the spa for a couple hours and, and find a gift there? Or can you go somewhere in nature, and go somewhere and pray to Mother Earth, and just do something a little bit different and find the gift in it, no matter how big or how small. And if you can go on a retreat, that is a beautiful gift to give yourself, because that will, if you find the right one that's in resonance for where you are right now, that will so help find your flow. Like, so many awakenings happen. I mean, and the same can be true also with, plant medicines, if you're sort of in a rut and stuck, but that has to be done with real intention and in a real beautiful container that you can trust.
mm. So when is your next solo journey?
I'm not sure what my next solo journey is. My next journey is meant to be this Saturday,
Okay.
with Munai, all women. It was meant to happen on the full moon a couple days ago, and it got postponed. So hopefully it'll happen this Saturday. Um, yeah, I'm really excited, because I've only journeyed with Munai at Shavin de Huantar. She wasn't necessarily leading that journey. We were in it together. There wasn't really a leader of that journey. The temple was the sort of the crux of it. And then I journeyed with her in Topanga with you in Los Angeles last year, and a few other friends. But every time I've journeyed with Munai, we've had some sort of epic quest that we're on, whether it's to hike up to Topanga Canyon or to go to the temple. So I'm really excited to see what it's like to hold space when we're not on an epic physical quest,
Mm.
and just to see what happens in that context. But my next solo journey, I don't know, maybe next weekend. I have to like configure it around working,
Yeah.
work playing with the agents and with Awaken Village. I
Well,
wanted to
whenever,
also touch on a little bit on some of these epiphanal moments that I had.
yeah.
Oh, we have a lag. Oops. Okay, I'm talking. So I have Wi-Fi blippity blips, and so every once in a while we have a lag, and so if you hear a pause, that's why. I want to grab my psychedelic journal. Isn't it pretty?
Mm.
Um, and just like, okay, yeah, I want to read a couple of these things before we move on to the next thing. Can I?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the things that came through that, again, may not be news to anybody, or they might be, but it was something that really really lit me up in the moment. One of them is, the goddess is the body that the god gets to dance in. And so where that led me was that this planet is the goddess, Mother Earth, and the god is the life force energy that brings life to the planet. So some would call that maybe the sun, or what, I don't know. It's that I am presence. And that's where I also came through with, I am both the temple and the I am that the temple was built for, simultaneously, in resonance. So when you think of your own body and this planet as a temple, and then you think about the spirit and the soul embodying that temple, and that I am all of that, it just gets real freaking magical. And the self-love and the self-care becomes more than just these empty things that somebody tells you to do. Here are 5 ways that you can, embody self-care or self-love in the next week or whatever. Take a hot bath. No, it's like, oh my God, how can I be a temple keeper to this body? What would I do to adorn the temple? How would I treat the temple? Like, how could I make this a place worthy of a god to enter?
Mm, that's beautiful. I'm gonna let you keep rolling through them because I don't want the lag to ruin to ruin them.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna sit here and listen and give my mms.
Really, that's it. It was that one. The goddess is the body that that the god gets to dance in, and then the presence, like the real gift of presence. Again, I'm not preaching anything new here. It's like a big old duh, and yet, are we really doing it? Are we really practicing that? Are we really treating our bodies as temples, treating this planet as a temple, and being and finding the gift and the presence in every present moment as much as possible?
And do you feel like you're doing that?
I feel like increasingly doing that. I feel like and I'm increasingly able to embody this. And so that's the thing when you go on these medicine journeys, it's all about integration, right? You can't just go into this journey and get the upload or the download and then go about your life. Like it's like how am I going to take these revelations and weave them into my entire being, into my body, into my psyche? Writing it down and talking about it and declaring it on a podcast is one way for me to integrate this.
Mm-hmm. That's so powerful. And you said something else inside of one of you. If you guys are not following Sarah on Instagram, go follow her on Instagram because she is giving us updates. She'll come and give us updates on these podcasts as well. And she'll have longer conversations, especially with, me, Munai, Sean, and all of these amazing people that she's journeying with. But, every now and then you're doing these 3 to 4 minute clips on Instagram and giving us some downloads. And one of them that you said was, which hit me strongly, was like, think about how our literal temples on our face, there are temples protecting our crown. Like it's
Yeah.
written, it's already written. Are we paying attention to
Uh,
that?
yeah, you just gave me goosebumps. Exactly. Like there's all these things that are the presence in the presence. There's presence in the presence. That's what presence is. It's the
Mm.
present. And then the temples on either side of your eyes, the temples are there to hold space for your crown, your beautiful, beautiful brain. Um, which is, the whole nervous system that, is teeming with life force energy. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
The codes are already in front of us. They're not even codes. Are we
They're not even
looking?
hiding. They're
They're
like
not
right
even
in front of
hiding.
us, and yet we're like going about our daily lives, the 9 to 5 grind, freaking out, myself included in that.
Mm-hmm. This is why, it's so funny. Sometimes we think like the most spiritual path, the most enlightened path is, diving into all of these different journeys and doing the most and waking up at 5 a.m. and reading, like doing our mudras and whatever these practices are. And they are like, I do have those things. I'm not at all belittling them by any means. But when we think about it too, sometimes the most spiritual thing we can do is just be and see every single thing that's already in front of us as the thing that we're supposed to collaborate with and co-create with. And that is the thing that we need to be working with. And in that moment, regardless, we can be an accountant or a finance person in a cubicle, and that can be spiritual if we open our eyes to it, if we open our eyes to the moment and any resistance that's happening in that moment, and breathing into it and feeling into it and seeing what is being asked of us, whether it's resistance or whatever kind of sensation that our body is communicating to us. If we're able to stay open and be present, that is the most quote unquote spiritual thing that we can do, because we are getting the codes right then and there. Everything is being placed in front of us.
I mean, fuck yeah. What you just said is 100% on point. You said a few things that were that really resonate for me. One is, yeah, you can have the practices. I have my morning practice when I'm, a lot of the time. And there are some really sort of like solid, I'm sitting next to a list right now of a practice that where you do certain chants and Sanskrit and all this stuff. And I'm certainly like, those are great. But for me, I am so non-dogmatic by nature that being to find the meditation and the spiritual practice in the present moment, no matter what is happening around me, is the epitome of of spirituality and the epitome of practice is that bringing pure consciousness and awareness into every single moment and living in a place of presence and gratitude and joy and weaving and co-creation no matter what's happening. And the other thing that you said was just that no matter what in front of me, no matter what is in front of me, I am co-creating with that. That it is a collaboration with that. I'm collaborating with these trees that I'm looking at. I'm collaborating with you over this Zoom call podcast discussion. I'm collaborating with, this desk in front of me, with the room behind me, with the people over there. And it's this constant state of co-creation and harmony. And if you approach life that way as much as possible, you wake up in the morning and be like, I'm going to harmonize. This is another thing I wrote down. I harmonize and beautify everything around me. Everything around me becomes harmony and beauty, no matter what it is. Even if everything just went fucking sideways and every decision you made in the last 6 months was fucking shit, and you're like, oh my God, I am a mess. I am the worst. How can you take that moment and harmonize and beautify it? I guarantee it's possible.
I had this conversation with someone the other day about how they were saying that they were feeling unbalanced. And oftentimes when we feel unbalanced, it is very hard to find the beauty and the gifts in each moment because we're just so trapped in our nervous system is so wired. And the thing that came back to me is I had this conversation. I have a podcast plug.
Go listen to
Go
Pretty
listen.
Mental.
It's called Pretty Mental. We'll put it in the show notes. But one of my very first episodes was with this beautiful, beautiful guy in Atlanta. His name was Malik. And the episode was back to the basics. And he is the epitome of he's like, doesn't do half that stuff that we do. And he is just this like Zen creature. And I remember just being like, how do you do it? Like, were you always this way? And he was like, it's so simple. Like, just go back to the basics. When we think about how humans existed for way, way longer than, than we've been these very domesticated creatures. And they used to be outside, humans need water, they need sunlight, they need to touch the soil, they need community, they need movement in their bodies, exercise. So if you feel unbalanced and you feel like you're unable to really tap into this, these gifts, and you're like, I don't even know how to get there, I think about, are you filling the buckets in of what your human needs? Are you getting community? Are you getting sunlight? Are you getting open air? Are you getting movement? Are you getting these basic things? Because if we don't, feed our animal, the right things and the right nourishment that it needs, then, the hierarchy of needs, how are we ever going to get to the next moment where we start to self-actualize? So before we even jump all the way to the next thing that's going to open us up to our next greatest evolution, come back to your basics and really make sure that these buckets are filled and work your way up from there. Because I think sometimes when we speak about, I've been on both sides when we speak about, how everything is a gift. And I've been on the side where I'm like, it literally is. Do you see it? Oh my God. And then I've been on the side of no, this is shit. I don't know what you're talking about. And I know it is. Yeah. I know it is.
I know.
But this is hard. Life is hard right now. And the way that we can get ourselves back into that is really paying attention to what our human animal, are we giving it what it needs, those basics, and exposing ourselves to new environments, like we said before.
Yeah. For sure.
Yes.
The more in nature that I can be, and I'm not a permaculturist. I mean, I am in theory, I believe in permaculture, but I'm not the person out digging in the dirt very much. I'm not the person who is like the full on hippie. I love our full on earth hippies. Thank you so much for doing that. But I really do, my system thrives when I am at least living in a culture where I am surrounded by nature, where I have lots of trees around me and grass, and I can walk barefoot damn near anywhere. I really, really thrive in those kinds of environments. I think that the earth loves it too. I think that that's when you can enter a state of co-creation with the planet, is when you've got those basic needs met. When you're drinking a lot of water, water is life. It's crystalline, like energy. And then you're able to ground on the earth's grass, and walk barefoot, and you're able to like listen to the birds and engage every single sense with our beautiful planet, our beautiful temple. Then you can start to move into a co-creation, I think,
Mm-hmm.
with that. But yeah, those basics gotta have to be met first, and it's really hard to do that when you're cooped up in a concrete box in LA or New York or some urban environment, and so I completely empathize and have a lot of understanding for that. Like, fuck that, there are no gifts here right now. um, and then I would encourage somebody to go out and stick their feet in the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting up to the end of our podcast, so I want to make sure that we talk about Awaken Village. Tell us, what is Awaken Village and who is it for?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Awaken Village. It's this beautiful co-creation with you, with other villagers, with my friends Amanda and Clint. I am bringing my full self and my, endeavors, which includes Conscious Conversion, a digital marketing agency for spiritual entrepreneurs and thought leaders. And it brings in Amanda's Awaken Village Press, which is awakening the planet one book at a time, independent publishing company. And we're coming together with other partners as well, with you and your breath work and your wisdom, with our dear copywriter, brilliant friend Erica, with Christina Luna, who is an astrologer, with so many other amazing, gifted, brilliant people. We're coming together to create a virtual village for conscious creators and new earth architects. And there's so many aspects to this beautiful co-creation, but one of them is that I love is that we're working on really walking our talk and living the new paradigm. And that means, what do the new paradigm economics look like? What does new paradigm business look like? What are new paradigm relationships like? How do we talk about money and currency and all of these things? And how can we, like, if I'm talking about how do I harmonize with everything around me, how can we bring that into our professional endeavors as well, into entrepreneurship? And it's also a sort of a crowdsourcing and crowdfunding initiative. So you join the village for $1 a day, $30 a month, and you then, that's an offering, that's a gift that you are putting into this village. And then you also look for the gifts that you receive from the village, which is, every month we have at least 2 calls. One is a revelation call. We just had our first one this morning. And the revelation call is meant to reveal some new information or new insights or new wisdom that you can walk away with in your life and in your business. And then we also every month have an elevation call, which is how are we sort of rising together, rising to the occasion of an awakening on this planet. And this month you will be leading that. You, Valentina, my love, will be leading that with your beautiful breath work. And so every month we'll have these offerings as the village's gift to the villagers. So that's one piece of it. And there's so much more. There's a council where we sort of mastermind together about new paradigm and how we can really live that with our businesses. There's partnerships. There's like a storefront. And we're building it right now. It's the very early stages, and it's really, really exciting.
Mm. Yeah, and the cool thing is it's we're in this digital community, so we can constantly be in contact with one another, and we have everyone, like you said in the beginning, that they come from a ton of different backgrounds. So if we are, we have a copywriting question or a digital marketing question or a question about holistic healing or whatever it is, that will help with our own business or our own personal life, our own whatever, we can pop it into the chat. And we have all these people from a bunch of different backgrounds who, like a village, when one person needs the village comes. And it's a powerful community because there are some brilliant people We've
Yeah.
got healers, we've got finance people, we've got copywriters and digital marketers, we've got like just
Publisher.
publishers. If you have questions about books, I mean,
It's really cool. I mean, and the thing is that, like I said, we're that membership that you, when you join, and the $30 offering, it comes into a pool that then helps us to, and also for those that join at the council level, what that does is then enables us to sort of provide more of our skills and services. So for instance, we would use the Awaken Village and the Conscious Conversion and Awaken Village Press platforms to help lift those people up and bring their voice to the masses as much as possible. So whether that's on social media or paid advertising or publishing a book or whatever, like our mission is to bring these voices to the world.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And if whatever your specialty is, you can host one of our revelation or elevation calls and show your offerings to our group, who they have a community, other communities that they reach out to as well. And you can test your offerings with us. It's a cool, sacred container that we'll put the link in the show notes. If you guys want to join, you can cancel at any time, but I think it's worth at least trying it out for a little bit, because it's an epic group.
Since we're in the beginning, I'm always telling people, like, join for 3 months, $30 a month for 3 months, so that we are empowered to build this together.
Mm-hmm.
The earlier you're in it, the more potential you have to help shape this beautiful co-creation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, everyone. Sarah.
I'll tell them, join.awakenvillage.com.
Join.awakenvillage.com.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, you guys. Sarah will be giving us more updates about all of her. This is hard for me. I feel like I'm taking over your podcast because I'm going into podcast speak. I'm like, all right, everyone, tune in with us next week. This is what
I don't mind at all.
when you host your own. You just jump into that template. But really, tune in with us, because Sarah is going to be giving us updates on all things. And soon you're going to have Sean and Munai on, which that is going to be epic.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to have them on. Like, they are the OG in terms of the spiritual thought leaders that I love to talk with. They're the OG. They just are very humble and shy when it comes to like stepping onto social media and, into the spotlight, but they're freaking brilliant.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Love y'all. Thank you so much for being with us today and for listening and following along my journey, which is at Resonate with Sarah on Instagram. And go check out Valentina's podcast as well, Pretty Mental. And we love you.
Love you guys. Love you guys. Love you guys. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye. Mwah.